We're just missing Sharon, aren't we?
Sharon has texted to say she's running late.
Oh, okay. So we may as well start then, I think. Yeah. You haven't had any sort of any other requests, have you, or people coming? What is it?
Ian Bates, I have just resent the link to Ian.
Right. Okay.
So I assume he's on his way.
He can join us when he arrives. Oh, Ian's just sorting out the lighting.
There we go. That's my best side. Don't you dare.
Proposer. Right. Okay then. Let's start. Thank you very much for joining us on a Tuesday, just to avoid the bank holiday, and to get all our meetings in before we have to meet in public. This is not quite the last Zoom meeting because we've got a planning meeting tomorrow, so to make the Zoom meeting particularly memorable. So item number 1 is to elect a chair. I don't know, did you actually see, was an email went round asking for nominations? I didn't actually see that. But
there was an email, there was no volunteers for chair via email.
Right, so we got to, because I'm not standing, so we have to pressurise somebody into being chair, do we? We go around the corner and just everyone has to explain why they can't be chair. To try and speed it up. So we do need a chair to carry on. I have actually been through the agenda with Nicola, as we normally do. So if you're worried about tonight's meeting, we can sort of make that not quite so painful. But we do need a chair to carry on for the next year. It's only a year. This is effectively the last Zoom meeting we're doing. So if you're frightened of Zoom, we'll be back in the village hall or somewhere at our next meeting, unless something catastrophic happens. So are we allowed to pressurise anybody, Nicola, or do we have to wait for someone?
You could ask for volunteers.
Okay, I can ask for. Does anyone volunteer to sit in the hot seat? I can also say that Nicola is very helpful. You might feel like you're by yourself, but there's plenty of support.
Been an early meeting, yes.
You will struggle.
Can I ask what the implications are if we don't elect a chair and we have to adjourn the meeting and there isn't enough time to reconvene an online meeting before online meetings are no longer allowed? Therefore, the first parish council meeting would be after the whatever of June it is, I take it.
The 30th of June is your deadline for signing the AGAR. So you would be hard pushed. You could potentially convene a meeting in public between the 21st and the 30th, but it would be a very tight deadline, having worked to get the AGAR ready for this meeting rather than the June one.
So we'd have to have a meeting after the 21st of June.
You would have to sign the AGAR, and that can only be signed or resolved to be signed at a meeting of full council.
And the payments we have this month to pay?
Yeah, they need to be authorised by the full council unless you do it under the scheme of delegation. So okay. A chair is a requirement, I'm afraid.
Meeting adjourned then.
Can't do that.
You go around there. Yeah.
Graham, would you be able to stay on for another year?
No, because I mean that's kind, but the we're all due for election next year anyway.
Yeah.
So all of us will need to be up for that. Now there's various reasons why I need to give up, but that's not to say that I'm not going to be in the wings helping whoever. And I say it has been quite challenging being on Zoom, so that's something that isn't going to affect the next chair. But you will, if you want it, you'll have my support. But sometimes it's nice to have a fresh face, isn't it? I certainly feel that my performance has gone down over the last year. Certainly, you start off with a flourish. We all start off with gusto, and then it becomes more and more difficult. I know that I'm not doing as good a job as I did in start off, so it's time for somebody new to sit in the seat. Notice I didn't use the word hot seat, I just said the seat.
I've done it for many years. Thank you very much.
So would you like to do it for another year, Peter?
It's better now.
What do you mean it's better? It was first class.
No, sorry. I don't mean the chairman's better. I mean, it's much easier now
Much easier.
because we've got lots of policies
it?
now we didn't have before.
I quite like the Zoom meetings.
Yeah, unfortunately, they have been knocked on the head.
So would you be willing to stand, Peter?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Okay.
I have been considering it, but I don't know.
I didn't realise that Graham wasn't standing, so I didn't realise there wasn't going to be Graham taking it on. And I'm a new person, and I don't feel I've got the experience to do it well at this time. So that would be my reasons for not standing.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I won't stand because I've been on too soon. I came on too recently, really, to be worthy of jumping on that position again so soon. So I'll avoid it this time.
Okay.
That leaves Kieran or Ian.
But you don't have to actually give reasons, but
I'm happy to give a reason. As chair of Econ Rights, I think there's potentially a conflict of interest there down the line, so don't think it's appropriate for me to take it.
I've spoken to him before, and you've chaired before, haven't you, Ian?
Yeah.
No, you were.
Yeah. No, I actually chaired, I think it's for about 6 years, which was quite a long time. The other thing as well is that I don't think my attendance in the future is going to be as good as it has been. One of the reasons is that international travel tends to cease once you're over the age of 80, and within our 70s, we've lost 20% of our opportunity due to COVID. So we're going to tend to do a little bit more travelling in the next few years.
That's back with Et and me, and Et's got the experience that I haven't.
Well, Peter said no, haven't you? Yeah, I mean, the pair of you said no. Okay. Well,
How do you feel about it?
Excuse me from the meeting for a moment.
do you think he's gone to check?
Heidi, did it?
He's gone. I've been given a note before I started.
So
I think he's probably gone to check with somebody else. But having said that,
Is Rob not joining the meeting tonight?
No, he sent his apologies.
Okay.
he's
And
expressed no interest, has he?
is he shown any interest?
He hasn't indicated any interest.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's just have a pause while Peter comes back and see what happens thereafter. But we'll adjourn the meeting. I think you can, Nicola.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a meeting. We'll talk social. Here's
He's
Peter.
back.
Oh, okay.
We just adjourned the meeting there, Peter.
Very sorry about that. I had to attend to something in the house,
Oh, okay.
and that's been sorted out.
We thought you were going to come back and say Heidi says yes.
Why would Heidi say yes?
Because she'd probably said no beforehand.
Okay. I'm prepared to stand as chairman for the next year.
Excellent.
Well, sorry. No, well,
Thank you,
first of all,
Peter.
we've got to decide whether
I have to be elected, of course, don't I?
exactly. I mean, it might
Yeah.
be that we've got several other people, and that we don't. The fact
Yeah.
that you put
Sorry.
them forward,
Yes,
we might not actually want you as chair. So,
exactly. Exactly. Please vote against me if that's how you feel you should be voting.
okay. Well, we have one nomination. Thank you very much, Peter. Do I, Nicholas? Presumably, I have to sort of lead, or can?
Anyone can propose. It doesn't have to be you.
Okay. Well, I'll propose that Peter is standing for the next chair, and that we accept his offer.
His candidature.
Yes. Can I have a second of that, please? Okay. All in favour? Oh,
Do I vote for myself?
of course, yes, please do. Thank you very much, Peter.
Hello.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to hand over the reins, mate.
Okay. All right.
Are you still going to
Okay.
call me mate afterwards?
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Hang on, the clerk's just left.
I know. I was worried. I am worried.
That's a bad start.
Yes. Sorry, Nicola.
Well,
Right.
well done, Peter, and thank you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I was. It was almost a sort of feeling that we can't let it go without.
No.
We just need to get it done, don't we? And it's only a year, and yeah, there we are. And we'll be back to meeting in public at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, and under your stewardship, it's done very well. Thank you, Graham, the parish council. So
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you very much. She's back. No, she's got. No, she.
Apologies, sorry, Ian Bates is having trouble.
Okay.
So he sends his apologies.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, I'd say I have been through the agenda. So if I jump in during the meeting, it'll be to help rather than to hinder on this
Yeah.
meeting.
Right.
Lovely. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is to elect a vice chair. Who would like to stand as vice chair, please? Do you want to stay on as vice chair for a year, Graham? We worked together as a dream team, didn't we?
We did. We did.
Yes.
I'm happy to be your vice chair.
Thank you very much. I nominate Graham Barradell as vice chair. Anybody want to second that nomination? Thank you, Kieran. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. Not sure about Ian.
No,
It's quite a spectacular meeting tonight, isn't it?
Okay.
Hello, what's that? Nothing to do with you, Peter, I'm just saying.
He's run off somewhere. Anyway, we'll say he's abstained, just for the sake of
yeah.
for
Well, I've noted him as left the meeting.
okay, fine. The next one is to resolve for the declaration of acceptance of office to be signed at a later date. I propose that
Right, just one question.
because we can't sign it here now. Heather's seconding it. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Next one is to receive apologies for absence and declarations of interest. Apologies for absence are from Rob and Sarah is going. Sharon is going to join us hopefully at about 8 o'clock. Ian's left the room for the moment. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any declarations of interest of things on the agenda this evening? No. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Next item is I close the meeting of the parish council and open the floor to the parishioner. Andy.
Nope,
No comments tonight.
nope.
No, it's a bit of a dry agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you very much. And Ian is, Councillor Bates is not coming. Is that
No,
his
his apologies.
Okie dokie. So no other speakers. We'll close that section of the meeting and reopen the parish council meeting. Next item is the minutes of the parish council meeting held on the 12th of April. You've all had the minutes. Everybody happy? I propose we accept them. Heather seconding. All those in favour?
Okay, many thanks, Ian. Thanks for letting us know. Cheers.
Okay, and then here's Ian. Then there's two planning meetings held on the 13th of April and the 27th of April, which one was about a planning application and strangely so was the other. I was at both.
Yep.
Graham, you're chair of both of planning, or you were chair of planning at that stage.
Yes, indeed.
Do you want to propose that those are accepted?
I'm happy. Yes, I propose that we sign both those planning applications.
One was about the development on Potton Road, the bungalow,
Yes.
Ashley, and one was the building round New England, and the other one was
Memory banks.
Way.
Gravely Way. Yes, it was.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Graham's proposing that we accept those. I'll second that. All those in favour on the planning committee. Thank you very much for your intention of voting.
Sorry.
Hand down. So it's me, Kieran, and Graham have accepted those. Matters arising. Nicola, over to you.
Now let me do ticks.
Oh, I've sailed past it.
So Councillor Goodridge has resigned and the proper notice of vacancy has been issued. The period of notice has been extended due to the period of mourning. So that doesn't expire until later this week.
Okay.
The minutes are going to change slightly. So in accordance with the standing orders, the minutes will only record the resolution of the council. So it will just say resolved that, instead of detailing the names of the proposer and seconder and the allocation of the votes, unless there is a request for a recorded vote. Could those councillors who have not returned their black armbands to me please do so as soon as possible? The response to the call for evidence regarding remote meetings has been sent, drafted by myself and Graham, and a copy can be viewed in Dropbox. The clerk, I have emailed local projects to state that Hilton Parish Council will contribute £9,000 to the LHI bid for 2021, but I haven't received a response back from them yet. I have been in conversation with the church regarding putting the community library in the church. I actually had the response from the PCC over the weekend, and they are happy for the library to go in the church. So we're just talking location of cupboard and so on and so forth now. The mole catcher came and placed traps in the area around the church and managed to catch 3 moles. I submitted the response to the consultation regarding the Oxford to Cambridge Railway, and also advertised the existence of the consultation on the website and Facebook page. I have purchased the new minute book for the annual parish meeting minutes, and that's now in use with 1 set of signed minutes in it. The new contract with the clerk has been signed and the job description has been updated as agreed at the last meeting. Peter and I have been working on setting up a pension scheme, and we're just waiting for advice from the payroll provider for some of the details on the form. As I exceeded my hours again in April, the chair authorised overtime for the essential tasks, but several tasks have been left to carry forward to May. These include advertising the new litter pickers, purchasing the wood for the fences, updating the asset register, writing the letter of condolence regarding Prince Philip, following up the Grove End bin with the District Council, and advertising that Speedwatch is now running again. I have put out several requests for assistance this month, and would just like to say thank you to Heather for putting up agendas, dealing with the empty toner cartridges and compiling a decision summary for me, Ian for delivering planning agendas, and the unnamed councillor who took down the notice that I requested. And that's me done.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Are we allowed to ask questions?
No discussion.
No discussion. Fine. Okay, moving on rapidly to review the delegation arrangements to committees and officers. This is scheme of delegation that is in the Dropbox folder. So this is where this is there to be reviewed because we're reviewing. Hello, Sharon. We're reviewing everything and anything tonight, I believe.
You are working your way through what is in standing orders to be reviewed at the annual meeting.
Yeah, everything and anything. So scheme of delegation is the first item on the agenda there. We've had this in place now. There's an item later on the agenda about possibly an emergency scheme of delegation. But this scheme of delegation seems okay to me. I propose that we accept it. As we've all, and Heather was quickest. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay. Next, we have the terms of references.
Sorry, Peter, can I just stop you there? Do you vote in favour, Sharon?
I saw a hand go up.
You're still muted. We can't hear you.
Oh.
I think it's also fair to just point at this stage that if there are any problems, they can be addressed throughout the year, can't they?
Yeah. If we're not happy, we can always come back to it.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying there's a lot to go through. And
can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Were you in favour of that one, Sharon?
I'll abstain because I didn't really hear what was going on. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm late. Apologies for being late. Thank you.
Don't worry. As a quick recap, there's a new chairman for the year going forward.
Oh, hi, congratulations.
Thank you so much. 2122A is to review the terms and references for the committees and officers and working groups, okay? And these are Planning, Staffing, Finance Committee, Complaints Review Panel, Responsible Financial Officer, Open Spaces Officer, Emergency Officer, and Hilton Traffic Group. Now, I have been part of writing all these things. We've reviewed them, we've brought them to council, so I'm perfectly happy with all of them. Okay, does anybody have any questions regarding any of the terms of references? In that case, I would propose that these terms of references are approved. And who's seconding? All those in favour? Thank you very much. Right. 2122(9 as appointment of members to existing committees and working groups. I've got a list here. I was looking down this thinking, oh, I'll be able to come off of some of these groups, but I fear not. So does anybody have a request to go on any of the groups that they're not on, come off any of the groups they are on, or remain as they are?
Happy to remain as they are from my point of view.
Thank you, Kieran. I would think looking down this, that I would go where it says include the chair, that'll be me. If I'm not on the group, I'll go on it. Yeah. Heather.
I think I sent a list of committees to Nicola to say which ones I'd be happy to go on.
As I didn't get responses from all the councillors, I haven't drafted anything together for that.
Okay. All right.
I haven't added you to anything, Heather. You've said about policy, staffing, media and finance.
Policy. Staffing.
Later, isn't it?
But I don't know what the numbers are, so I don't know if that's relevant.
Yeah. And which was the other one? Policy?
Media, finance.
Media. Okay. So policy looks all right, doesn't it? To join, I think. Media looks fine. Staffing, I don't know, because it says 5 members, doesn't it? And I would have to go on to that as chair. And then you've got Graham, Rob, Kieran, Sharon. Sorry, Sharon.
I'm happy to step off that. I'm
Okay.
happy to come off the staffing committee.
All right. So, and Heather, you would be happy to
So
go
Heather's
on it.
well my place.
Yeah. Okay. Ed, anything you had in mind?
Yeah, I think I sent an email to Nicola saying staffing, finance, complaints review. Is that one of the options? I can't remember now.
You said finance, policy, staffing.
That's it. That's what I said.
Policy would be fine because that'd bring it to 5.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one?
Policy, staffing, and finance were the ones I'd step up to. But
I'm quite happy not to be on
staffing-
staffing if you'd rather it.
I'll let you two fight that out between yourselves or come to a mutually acceptable position. And the other one was, sorry, I'm a bit deaf. No, I'm not. Finance. How many have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, why not? Because that'll give 5, which is always a nice number to have because it means that you should try and get a majority.
Does that mean you don't want me on finance?
I didn't hear you say finance ever. I had you policies, media and staffing. Sorry.
Okay, did I say finance or not? I don't mind.
You did say finance.
Oh, right. Okay.
Heather,
Well, why don't you agree between you?
Yeah, Heather, go for finance, and I'm happy to go with staffing. How do you reckon about that?
Fine.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Heather?
Cool.
That's fine.
Ian, you happy with your positions?
Yeah, just one comment. I think, Nicola, you had Kieran down as the convener for the open spaces group, whereas in fact it's now passed to me.
Okay, hang on, I will update that.
Unless Kieran wishes to maintain his...
I would if you don't want to, but if you're happy to do it, then that's fine.
It
Okay.
is part of the open spaces officer's term of reference
That what?
that he convenes the staff. He convenes the Green Open Spaces Working Group.
Yeah.
It's yours then, Ian.
Agree it between yourselves.
doing
Let
it.
Nicola know. afterwards, because
No.
it'll just be updating the form, isn't it? It's not a votable thing. It's between that little group.
That's right.
I will have to check on Easements Working Group. It says the name of a parishioner. I don't know whether that parishioner still wants to be involved in that group, so I'll have to check that. Sharon, are you okay with your other groups that you're on?
Yeah, I'm happy to step off media if you want, if someone else wants to do that. I'm happy just to be on planning if that's okay.
I've got you down on planning, complaints, fireworks,
Oh yeah.
pavilion. I think you're on, aren't you?
Yeah, oh sorry, yeah, pavilion. Yeah, that's fine. I'll stay on those, but I'll step off media. Was media
Okay.
one of them?
You are, yeah, you are on media.
Yeah, so I'll step down from media if someone else wants to step onto that. Thank you.
Well, we can always leave a vacancy for the new councillor that we get.
Oh yes.
They can go on to something, can't they?
That's true.
Well, you know, make them feel welcome. Have I gone through it? Graham, you happy to be chair of planning still for this last year?
I was certainly going to get rid of that if I didn't, if you didn't take
chairmanship
over the other
of-
bit, but
The
sorry.
chairmanship of the committee will be decided at the first meeting of the committee, so tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you
I
happy
am.
to remain on the groups that you're on then?
Yes, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Good.
Oh, apart from village hall's coming on later, that gets its own, because
Yeah.
that's
It
a
does
body.
get its own line and mention, and Kieran's happy with what he's on because he said right at the beginning. So did you get all those?
I think so. Can I just run through and make sure everyone's where they're supposed to be? So
I'll tell you
finan-
what, Nicola,
Yep.
type it up, circulate it, and people can
Okay.
say whether they agree with it or not.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
okay,
Do we
and
need
we'll
to?
vote on it at the next meeting
And
then.
we'll vote on it on the next meeting. Thank you. 21/22/10 is a review and adoption of standing orders. I have nothing. We use the standard standing orders. We brought them to council before. They have the standard standing orders haven't changed. So I propose that we review and adopt the standing orders. Have a seconding. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. Next item is review and adoption of financial regulations, which we did quite recently, didn't we? We reviewed these quite recently and put them to council. There's been no changes to them, has there? Do correct me if there is a change, but I'm
No,
going
I've
on what I've seen and what I think.
I've noted it in the supporting documents if there are any changes.
Yeah. So I propose that we review and accept that. Any seconder? Thank you, Graham. All those in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. Good. That's all that page. Turning over. Review and of representation on or work with external bodies and arrangements for reporting back, which is, so there are 3 items on here: Hilton Village Hall Committee, HCV Group and A428 Community Forum. So Graham has been, parish councillor on committee member of the Village Hall Committee. I rather think that's something that you're not looking to continue. Is that right, Graham?
You checked your words just in time there.
Yes.
I won't be continuing with that one, no.
Okay. Would anybody like to step
That's
forward
a vacant one.
and become the parish council representative on the Hilton Village Hall Committee, please? Okay.
No, thanks.
I'm going to say that I will ask you to think about it. We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And please let the guilt settle in over the next month or so to make you think that Hilton Parish Council can't go without a representative. The next one on the list is the HCV Group. Likewise, please let the guilt settle in over the next month. The next one is the A428 Community Forum. And please do watch, as I say, I'm quite happy to be the Parish Council representative on the A428 Community Forum Group.
Well done.
So I'm proposing that I do.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. All those in favour?
I feel sacked. He's sacked from office.
Peter,
went
your
to one the
guilt
other
has
day,
worked.
didn't I?
I'll go on the Village Hall Management Committee.
Oh,
Heather.
the guilt stepped in very quickly.
Very quickly. I'd like to propose that Heather Chambers is the Hilton Parish Council representative on the Hilton Village Hall Committee, seconded by Graham, who was quickest. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's everybody. We have a potentially new parish councillor coming on. There's another vacancy for them there. Next on the agenda is the review of inventory of land and other assets. Now, that's probably something I haven't finished yet. So, where is it? Sorry, I just have to get to here. Yeah, so Graham and I had a little walk around the village the other day. Quite a chilly afternoon, wasn't it? In the end,
It was.
Put a thicker coat on.
Yes, standing around on the lampposts.
And we had a look at all the lampposts, the benches, the village poles, because there's no sign on the village pole. We looked at all those things, and I am in the process of writing up a report. Slap my wrists, I haven't done it yet. Haven't finished yet, so it will be there, and I will get it to the next meeting. So at this point, one of the lampposts needs repair, and I think that bills in for that already, which is the one that was on the crossroads. One of our lampposts is missing, but it might be that it's been replaced by the two lampposts that illuminate the Belisha beacon. And then we might have a little look. There's a lamppost in New England, Westbrook leading to New England, which has got a new LED light on it.
Yeah. So
that I might propose a little project on that thing later, but I'm not going to bring it up today because it's not on the agenda.
No. It's worth just people just noticing it, couldn't it?
It could. If you're out of an evening, have a look at that lamppost, please. And particularly what I'm looking at is the light that it emits. Did we not do the asset management plan at the last meeting?
Yes, it's to bring it all up to square so that you're doing them once a year.
Yeah.
Next
So we reviewed that at the last meeting, and nothing's changed. What it hasn't quite got is the up-to-date asset register to go with it. So I'm proposing that we approve and adopt the HPC asset management plan. Thank you, Heather. Heather seconds. All those in favour? Thank you. Right.
And will the asset register come back then, Peter?
Oh yeah. I'll pop that. I will, once I've finished typing it. I might have to then go and review just to make sure I've got everything right, because I might there's a bit of, I have a question mark around a couple of things that I just need to check, and then it will come back to the parish council meeting. I will present slides and a show. No, I won't. I'll present the asset register to the parish council.
I have one question about it, which was, what value are you putting? Is it the purchase value or the current value? So you
It's the purchase value.
In mind when you're
it's the purchase value. I'll answer that now, Heather, even though it's not on the agenda. It's the purchase value. Those are the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations are that it's purchase value. We don't depreciate any of the assets. It's just the purchase value that they're put on at.
Because the column says current value on the document.
Yeah, that'll change.
Good.
That will change to purchase value. Right, what's next? Confirmation of arrangements for insurance cover in respect of all insurable risk. Nicola, tell me what this one's about, please.
So I've given you your insurance documents for review, and you also need to just adopt the general risk register, general risk assessment, we called it.
We did, but we just approved that, didn't we?
A couple of months ago, yeah. So it's a fairly recent one.
Yeah.
So you're reapproving that to get it up straight, and then you are confirming that you're happy that you are insured for all risks that you should be.
Yes. That's right. I'm trying to. I've got so many Once again, I've got so many documents open on here.
Yeah.
Just
Which
trying
kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it? It goes hand in hand with the asset register to a certain extent.
Yes. Here it is. Right. So there you've got a copy of the policy with what the premium was, and then you've got the list. Oh, the protect wording policy. Oh, we saw this at the time we did the policy, didn't we? We saw an example of their policy document and all that. So there we go. I'm happy. I propose that we accept what we have in front of us. Has anybody got any questions on the insurance risk? I think what happened, if I remember rightly, we switched insurance companies on this one for a substantially reduced premium, but the risks that were covered were equal to or better than what we had in the previous policy. So I propose we accept it. Graham's just put his thumbs up for seconding it, I believe. All those in favour? Thank you. Perhaps we should say aye or something. So we've done that one. Next is reviewed council subscriptions to other bodies. So this is our memberships of, come here, CAPALC, SLCC and ICO. So the ICO, because that's on the agenda for payment. So that's for our data protection register. SLCC is the Society of Local County Clerks, Council Clerks, and CAPALC is trying to put as many acronyms as you can into your name. It's the Cambridgeshire Association of Peterborough Local Authority Councils or something like that.
Cambridge and Peterborough.
Oh, Cambridge and Peterborough.
Local councils.
There we are. So I would suggest that we need to be subscribed to these bodies because the data protection is for our own risk protection. SLCC is the Society of Local Clerks, provides invaluable information to Nicola in, so if we have a query, she can go to the SLCC forum and find out what other clerks around the country are able to provide by way of input. And CAPALC is more local, but we should, as a responsible council, be a member of these organisations. So I'm proposing that we continue our membership and subscriptions to these bodies. Thank you, Kieran. So sort of when I say I propose that, the idea is that somebody says I second it, you see, but Kieran did it that time. All those in favour? Thank you, everybody.
Peter,
Right.
Peter.
Yeah.
You raced over the risk assessment document.
Did I?
I just had one comment about it, which I'd like Ian to just take away and think about, really.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
On A3 of the risk assessment, it talks about trees on the green, and we talk about injury to pedestrians, pets and vehicles, and our measures is an annual visual inspection of trees. And I just feel that Ian probably does more than that anyway on a more regular basis, and that we ought to record that as a measure that, I don't know, following storms or following monthly regular activity, something that says we're looking out for this more frequently than annually.
Any comment, Ian?
Fair comment. When it's a windy day like today, I did have a quick look round.
I think he does it, but...
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the document so we can think of if there's wording we can put in there.
If the document were used, if somebody were injured and we just had stated it was an annual visual inspection, I think we'd be in problems.
It's coming up. There it is.
Unless it puts too much of a risk on Ian. That you've
annual visual impair, dated insurance. So could we put in that box annual visual inspection of trees by tree warden and tree surgeon, supplemented by review?
I think we're making a rod for our back here, especially if Ian's not going to be here when storms are going to be happening. If you're going to be travelling and that kind of thing, there's no guarantee Ian's going to be around. We've either got to have a formalised process, policy rather, where something is done on a particular day each month or something specific. It can't be ad hoc.
Okay.
Ian and I both attended a training course.
You did.
A year or so ago, maybe longer. Time rushes by. Where this annual survey was recognised as being the what parish councils should be doing.
Uh-huh.
I don't know whether adding to that is really just giving us.
Well, there is that danger, isn't there? Graham.
Can I suggest that it's kept officially as a year, but whenever Ian goes out and does his little post-storm checks, he lets Nicola know, so that if there is a problem, he can say, well, I did it this year, but I also did it in August. But I wouldn't want to commit to he does it after every storm.
Well, I'm thinking about it a little bit more. If we write into this policy document that it's going to be reviewed and it isn't reviewed because it's not able to be reviewed after a storm, then we've opened ourselves up for potential liability, haven't we? Yeah. So if the policy document wording is strong enough at annual visual inspection, which is what you guys had from the course that you went to about, and that was specifically for tree wardens and the like for parish councils, wasn't it?
Correct.
Graham.
We could also check with the insurance company, because presumably if anything happened, we would get them involved.
Yeah.
Is it worth involving them, or is that just potentially a problem if they say no, you should do it monthly?
Well, if they say no, it should be done monthly, then we'll have to put in a system that it'll need to be done monthly and delegate the task.
I think in view of the fatality that happened in Sawtree, and was that last year or the year before?
2 years.
Ages ago.
We just need to be very careful.
I thought it was actually. Yeah, but at the minute, so can we just, Nicola, it's not an absolute urgent request to do, but could you add it to your list to ask the insurance company in the future?
Want to resolve to do that, full council?
Just do it, please. No, sorry, that's not one of my most favourite sayings. Would you like our resolve that we ask Nicola to contact the insurance company just to ask them whether that is acceptable wording with regards to tree maintenance? I was trying to see what it was described as that.
I'd like to propose a second that, rather.
Thank you. All those in favour of that?
Okay.
Against? Thank you. Sharon's hand was delayed. She voted for it, and then the other councillor voted against it.
Okay, so we got 6 and 1.
Yeah, that's fine. Next on the agenda is the review of the council's complaints procedure. Again, this is a policy that was brought in within the last 12 months, if I'm right. It feels like it was brought in within the last 12 months. Yes?
Slightly more than that now.
Was it really? Goodness me.
Done in the village hall.
It seems like yesterday. It hasn't changed. We haven't, fortunately, we've not had to implement it at this stage. So I'm going to propose that we continue with the adoption of this policy. And Heather's hand is there. Thank you very much, Heather. All those in favour? Thank you. Right.
It's also one of those policies that you hope you never need, isn't it? It's
it's a nice, it's there, and yeah, we haven't had to use it, and we have a complaints working group or complaints review panel, and so that's good. So we have got number 17 on the agenda, which is review of council's policies, procedures, practice in respect of its obligations under freedom of information and data protection legislation. And under this here section, we have publication scheme, freedom of information notice, general privacy notice, information security policy, and records management policy. Does anybody have any comments regarding any of these policies? Then I would suggest that we are happy to, is it re-adopt or just adopt?
Just adopt.
Renew the adoption of these policies. Thank you, Heather. Heather seconds. All those in favour? Thank you. Right. The next one is the media policy, which is the council's policy for dealing with the press stroke media. Anybody got any comments on the media policy?
It hasn't been used much, but it seemed to work okay when you were on the radio, wasn't it? So
I fell off.
Stop.
Sorry. Yes, it did work exceedingly well when I was on the radio.
Yes, yes. So we did find someone at short notice. So thank you for that. And yeah, I'd be happy to go with that.
I proposed, Graham seconds. All those in favour of the readoption of that policy. Review the council's employment policies and procedures. So the policies under this section are disciplinary and grievance policy, equal opportunities policy, health and safety policy, lone working policy, recruitment policy, training and development policy, sickness absence policy, and expenses policy. Certainly the last two of which we adopted last month, following the highlighting that when the contract said that you've been handed a copy of the sickness policy, there wasn't one, so there is one now. Anybody, any comments on any of those policies?
Again,
And then I propose that we readopt and then those policies. Ian, start. All those in favour?
Yep.
Thank you. Review of the council's expenditure under section 137 of Local Government Act and review of the section 137 expenditure policy. Right. You're going to have to help me on this one, Nicola, please.
The council have had no expenditure under section 137. Yeah?
Yep.
And the section 137 policy was one that you haven't seen for over a year, because that was definitely one we did in the village hall.
Does anybody have any queries on the section 137 expenditure policy? Then I will propose that we readopt this policy for the forthcoming 12 months. Oh, tie Heather. I'll give it to Heather. All those in favour of that? Thank you. That's everybody. The next is other policies, which is dispensation procedure, children and adults at risk safeguarding policy, green spaces management policy, reserves policy, grant making policy, correspondence policy. Does anybody have any queries regarding any of those policies? No? Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say the children and adults at risk. Have we reviewed that recently? Because that was one that we did a long time ago, wasn't it?
All we did was change the name from Joe to mine.
Okay.
And it was on the agenda in the village hall a long time ago.
Okay, so it's working okay, good.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe worth also adding that the green spaces management policy will be up for review when we do the maintenance contracts, which we haven't had that meeting yet. But as the two documents go side by side, there may be some recommendations that come from the open spaces group.
Yeah.
On that. But it's fine for now.
Okay, so when there's a policy, yeah, you'll bring it to council for any changes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll propose that we readopt those policies for the forthcoming 12 months. Kieran.
Sorry, I just missed what Kieran said. Is the green spaces management policy going to come back in the next 12 months, or?
If it's reviewed.
Very likely, I would say.
Sorry, Kieran.
Very likely.
Okay.
Because
I had comments about 10.3 and 10.10, but I'll leave them.
Sorry, so we propose that we readopt those. Kieran seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. Right. Review the council's code of conduct. Now, does that incorporate the bit that you got back from HDC? Because I read that. Oh yes. So at the last meeting, there was we were talking about the code of conduct, and we mentioned that at the present time, Hilton Parish Council adopts the code of conduct that's in place from Huntingdon District Council, and that originally Huntingdon District Council provided training to councillors on that code of conduct. So we asked Nicola to go back to HDC and ask them what's what. They came back and said, the position is that we currently await final guidance on the LGA model code of conduct. Once this is forthcoming, the new LGA code will be run through the necessary council committee process at HDC. In terms of training, it will no doubt be the case at NALC. Not a member of NALC, are we?
Yes, you are through Capalc.
Sorry. We'll make available training for town parish councils. We will, of course, monitor this situation. So at the minute, it's right at the early stage, isn't it, of it going through. So the recommendation is that we continue with our current code of conduct and await guidance from HDC in due course once they've done their due governance on it. I propose that we continue with Hilton Parish Council's code of conduct for the next, until such time as, well, certainly for the next 12 months, but if there is a review by Huntingdon District Council in the meantime, this will be reviewed at that point. Heather, thank you. Seconded. All those in favour? Good, thank you. Next, determine the time and place of ordinary meetings of the council up to and including the next annual meeting of the council. So this is a nice little list that Nicola's produced of the first Mondays of each month, except for January and August and January. But the first meeting on that list is Monday, the 7th of June, which at the present time, under the guidance and regulations that are suggested, would need to be a meeting held in public. And I think we've discussed this in the past, that with the lockdown guidance saying national restrictions will be removed on the 21st of June, we weren't keen, if I'm correct in what I'm saying, to hold a public meeting until after the 21st of June. So you've got the dates, which are the first Mondays of each month. There's an explanation about what would happen on Monday, the 9th of May. That would be dependent on the election and the date of the election next May, because we don't know yet. So I would go with the recommendations, which was we agree the dates and times of the meetings except the annual meeting, which is the 9th of May one. Resolve that the June meeting cannot be held due to the unlawfulness of remote meetings. Resolve that the location of the meetings will be advised on the website notice boards, and resolve that the date for the annual meeting of the council will be set once the date of the elections is known. Thank you, Heather. Heather seconding that little lot there. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Right, 24 and 25. 24 is review the action plan for 2021. 25 is agree the action plan for 2021. Any comments, ladies and gentlemen, on the action plan?
24, presumably it's a bit of a formality because it's what happened during the year. But it's something I forgot was sort of there. I wonder whether it can be sort of brought to council more often.
The action plan?
Or like a sort of, like a 3 month sort of basis to remind us of what things we're supposed to be doing. Because there's a lot on there, isn't there? Most of it we are getting on with, but there's a couple of things that have been or tripping us up. That
It would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's like your annual appraisal, isn't it? You don't want your annual appraisal to be discussed without prior discussion.
Indeed.
A review as you go along. So why we would want to have a little look at our action plan as we go through the months ahead. Heather?
I think when Graham went on his training last year, maybe this year, he said that we should have a 5-year or a 3-year action plan as well to be working towards, and that would be good practice, and that we needed to engage parishioners in that as well. So should we include something about that in a future action plan?
I think what we'll do is we'll let me get my feet under the table, and then we'll have a little think about that one, and I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Can we add to the action plan during the year then?
Sorry?
Can we add to the action plan during the year?
Like I say, let me get my feet under the table and we'll have a think about that one and bring action plan to the next meeting, because we need to look, I need to read it. I confess I haven't read it. I didn't get a chance to read it tonight. I got rather taken away with the do I, don't I discussion. So if you don't mind, Heather, we'll back that one back and have a look and see what's on it, and see about this question of reviewing it on a more regular basis than once a year. The review of the one for 2020/21 is a done deal, because we only introduced the action plan a month before the year end, I think. Is that correct? 2 months before. the
February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we can resolve to accept that one because it's done. The year's done. Graham's seconded it already. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. But the one about the agree the action plan, I'd like to bounce for a month, please, and then
Defer.
defer for a month.
I'm happy to accept your proposal. I'm going to.
Thank you. All those in favour? That's everybody. It's been bounced for a month. I mean, deferred for a month. The next item is review the effectiveness of the council system of internal control. Sorry, I got my tongue tied then. So the internal control. So is this the one where I looked at the bank statements recently and signed them as non-chair?
That's part of it, yeah. So I've given you an excerpt actually because I had to write a piece of internal control. So I've given you an excerpt from my Silka work on it, which basically pulls out all of the financial regulations you have in place to provide a system of internal control. Some councils do have a internal control statement which says how they'll do it, but yours is all within the financial regs.
Yes. So and we reviewed, or we did something at the finance committee which resulted in the independent verification of the bank statements, didn't it? That came out of finance committee.
It was nominated from the finance committee. Yeah. So
And
sorry.
No, go on.
As you can say, your internal control is simple things like the fact that all the meeting, all the payments go on the meeting agenda. Payments have to be authorised by 2 councillors to actually be paid on Unity Trust or signed by 2 councillors for a cheque.
Oh, I read this.
All those mechanisms that you have in place.
Yeah.
I think, Peter, you're jumping. It's 27 that is the one that you signed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's all right. I what Nicola was saying, I'd read that bit earlier on about what we do and how we control the finances. And has anybody got any questions about that? Because I think after the discussions we had at the finance committee as well, I thought we'd tightened up and that they're a bit more robust than they had been previously, our controls. And I would like to suggest that we accept that the council's internal control is effective and ask that the finance committee have this as an agenda item when they meet, just to confirm that they've reviewed. It'll be part of it's part of their duty. And then when the finance committee come back to the when the finance committee have met and put a report to the parish council, they can mention that they've carried out their internal review for that, whatever period it is.
Sounds good. Yeah. Are you proposing that?
Yeah, I'll propose that.
Okay, I'm happy to second it.
Graham seconded it. All those in favour? Thank you. The next one is note that bank reconciliations have been sorry, I jumped the gun, didn't I? Have been verified by a member other than the chair. Last time I have to do that then.
There are some perks.
So that will be carried out by another member of the finance committee in due course, won't it? And I think we said quarterly.
That's what the financial regs say.
Yeah. So we don't have to vote on that, do we?
You have to vote on it. You have to vote that you've noted it so that it gets noted for the purpose of the minutes.
There we are. I propose that. I have a second. I think we'll all those in favour? Thank you.
I think its battery is running down. It's getting darker and darker.
Don't turn the lights up.
Hello.
He hasn't left the meeting, Nicola.
Oh,
Look,
okay.
there we are.
When he comes back, the halo will appear. You see,
Right. The next one is to review the council's banking arrangements, which is Unity Trust, and got to go back to this card now, haven't we? This one here. So we have 2 accounts of Unity Trust, a current account and a deposit account. And if I was very good, I'd say there's bank statements for them. Current account and deposit account, and the members of the finance committee, apart from one who's forgotten his passwords and everything, go on and authorize the payments that are made from that. That has to be 2 people, I believe, following. So all these items that are on here that will be paid from the bank account that Nicola sets up the payment, there has to be authorized by 2 members. And that is part of the annual control of the accounts as well, checking through that the invoices match with the payments out. Might be brought forward to being quarterly or half yearly.
Well, it could go back to monthly when you're actually doing it in person.
Yes, when you're doing it in person. Yes, because we did that recently as well, didn't we? We got a prepaid MasterCard with Equals. Is it Equals this month?
Mm-hmm.
Seems to hasn't jumped around anybody else though. Good. And that we've resolved as a council that £2,000 can be on that and used if needed under the scheme of delegation for certain items. And so the resolution is that we continue with our current banking arrangements.
I think it's also worth pointing here that Nicola was saying that the Equals card is particularly good because you only put on it the minimum amount, so the car gets stolen. Is this right, Nicola? If the car gets stolen, they can't actually drain the whole account. So she puts the money onto it from the MasterCard account.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I mean, I only put it in because the Equals card is quite a new one to us.
Yeah,
It's got some added advantages. So good.
Some added security. Thank you.
Good.
Had somebody seconded?
No.
Heather, thank you. All those in favour? This is continuing of our existing banking arrangements. Sadly, as you may well know, there is no interest available anywhere on anything. No. All right. The next item is direct debits and standing orders. Now, here you have a list that we currently pay for our electricity, pavilion energy supply, and street lighting energy supplied by direct debit, that we currently pay our maintenance contract and our clerk by standing order, and that we have a card subscription for Zoom, which we'll obviously need to review when, because maybe there might be something that actually says you can continue meetings by Zoom, but not at this minute in time. And then there's a charge from Unity Trust for their account. So this is on here because it's their regular payments, and it's to make sure that you're happy and approve that we continue with these regular payments. I propose that we continue with these regular payments. Graham, sorry, question.
What are we doing about Zoom? I mean, are we going to? Yeah, I know you mentioned about Zoom, but presumably we can stop and start it. I don't think there's any advantage in keeping it on. I mean, we started it quite quickly, didn't we? I mean, if we're not allowed to meet with Zoom, it does seem a bit £14 that we needn't pay, or £11 X that, whatever. When's
the next argument or court debate about the meetings, Nicola, or is there not proposed to be?
There's nothing scheduled.
No.
We'll be waiting for the ministry now to come back with primary legislation.
I would think that we perhaps keep it going until 21st of June, 18th, or whatever date it is in June, on the basis that if we need to have a meeting, it's there and done. And then after that, we can cancel it.
But I suppose we could still meet with working groups. Any sort of non-public meeting, we could still meet, couldn't we?
I don't know, Nicola.
By Zoom. But the working groups could be done via Zoom because they don't have to be done in public domain.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's quite nice. It's been, everybody, you love them or hate them, don't you?
Yeah,
they've been fine.
Yeah.
So perhaps we'll take it under guidance.
Okay.
Review it, see if we use it. If we don't use it, cancel it. If we do use it, then maybe we'll continue it. What am I proposing? I'm proposing that we continue with the existing regular payments that are made by way of direct debit, standing order, card subscription, and regular charge. Kieran seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. Agree the payments that payments may be made by BACS via online banking. Okay. Once upon a time, you used to write a check out to people when you had a bill to pay. Nowadays, people don't like checks. And so when we get an invoice come through for something that can't be paid by the card, Nicola has to set up a BACS payment, and that is signed off by 2 members of the Finance Committee. The resolution here is that we, as a council, agree that payments can be made by BACS via online banking or the equals card instead of checks. There's the resolution. Any questions? Sorry, because I forgot to ask any questions last time. No questions. Et and Kieran seconded. You can do the lucky dip. All those in favour? Thank you.
It won't show on the minutes, will it?
No, it won't.
It's-
If you want to record the vote,
yeah, could you just go back and do all of them?
no, you have to decide you want it recorded before the next agenda item has begun.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, we didn't know that. But I'm happy so far this evening of the way it's gone. So I'm happy. We'll have a see what it's like on the minutes. If we don't like it, then we can vote next time that we have a recorded vote on each one if we want. None of the things has been contentious, has it? It's perhaps more to have a recorded vote if we were proposing to spend a large amount of money on something that might not be thought would be welcomed by every villager, perhaps, maybe. Right, next. Note the receipt of the annual internal audit report. So we've had the annual audit. Oh, there it is. No, that isn't it.
31.
No, sorry, that's the internal control document. Sorry. Talk to us about the annual internal report whilst I try and find it, Nicola.
So the annual internal audit has been done by our internal auditor, and there were no points to note that arose from the internal audit. So we just need the full council to note receipt of the internal audit report.
On one of these documents that you've got, it says, or one of that the one that is AGAR 2021 page 2. At the bottom, we have to resolve that it's not that one. One of them anyway says it's been recorded in the minutes book.
Yes. Annual governance statement and the annual accounts have to both be recorded by resolution, and the minute reference has to go on the form.
Yes. So there's the internal one. I knew I had it. Too many pages. That's right. So I propose that we accept the internal audit report and thank our internal auditor for doing it once again, and thank Nicola for getting it in a manner that was accepted, was approved without any question. But I think the actual proposal for this parish council meeting is to note receipt of the annual internal audit report. Heather, thank you very much. Sorry, Sharon, almost there. All those in favour? Excellent. Then you have the annual governance statement. So
this is the one, Peter, you need to read out every statement, please.
Good. Right, I've got to find it. Now then, on here it is 2232. On here it is 2232, page 1, section 1.
It's page 5.
I was going to say page 1 is the.
Sorry, page 4. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, page 1 is the what's it called? Yeah. Page 4. Well, that's page 6. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'll be with you shortly. Page 5.
That's page 4, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to find page 4.
Sorry,
I've got 5 and 6. I haven't got page 4. Sorry.
She's obviously giving you a duff set.
Well, I can't find page 4.
Would you like me to share the screen?
Well, and then me read off the screen?
Yep.
Be lovely. Thank you.
Oh, I just made it very big. Hang on.
So this is the annual governance statement.
Probably don't want it quite that
Oh,
big.
that one, that wasn't page 4.
It says 21, 22, 32.
Yeah, 21, 22, 32.
And then you come down. It's right. It's at the bottom of that lot of 30. Well, it was.
All right, okay. Look, so I have to read the...
Page 4 of 6, right at the bottom here.
Can't find it. So I have to read what's on there to you
Okay.
guys, yes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so 1, we have put in place, so listen carefully, because I won't be asking questions at the end of it, but you'll be asked to vote that these are accepted. We have put in place arrangements for the effective financial management during the year and for the preparation of the accounting statements. We have maintained an adequate system of internal control, including measures designed to prevent fraud and detect fraud and corruption, and reviewed its effectiveness. We took all reasonable steps to assure ourselves that there are no matters of actual or potential non-compliance with laws, regulations, and proper practices that could have a significant financial effect on the ability of this authority to conduct its business or manage its finances. We provided proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of electors' rights in accordance with the requirements of the accounts and audit regulations. We have carried out an assessment of the risks facing this authority and took appropriate steps to manage those risks, including the introduction of internal controls and/or external insurance cover where required. We maintained throughout the year an adequate and effective system of internal audit of the accounting records and control systems. We took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports from internal and external audit. We considered whether any litigation, liabilities or commitments, events or transactions occurring either during or after the year end have a financial impact on this authority, and where appropriate have included them in the accounting statements. For local councils only.
This is actually not applicable to you. You don't have trust funds.
I'm not reading it out because we're not a local council.
We are a local council.
We're a parish
we don't
council.
have a trust fund.
We're a parish council. Oh, there we go. Hello again, everybody. I'm resolving that Graham.
I was just waiting back, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had a question. Anybody got any questions? No, I propose that we approve the annual governance statement. Here in seconds, all in favour? My hands are up, so you don't have to put them down, then it saves that sort of action. Well done. Approve the annual accounting statement. Is there something else I've got to read out?
No.
Okay. Right, you have got this annual accounting statement, he said confidently. The annual accounting statement is page 5 and 6, the ones I did have up. And the bank reconciliation and the explanation of variances. Now, we had the bank reconciliation up at the previous meeting, didn't we? When the internal audit was being prepared, Nicola posted those documents, or was that for the finance
committee? That was the finance committee.
Okay, so I've seen them, so I'm happy. Anybody got any questions? In that case, I propose that we approve the annual accounting statement. Sharon, thank you. All those in favour? That's everybody. And Nicola, thank you very much indeed for getting all that done. And you're going to get them submitted. You are going to submit them now to our external auditor for their perusal and approval.
Yes.
Excellent. And then there'll be things you have to do about notice boards and websites and things. Thank you very much. 21, 22, 34 is review the financial reports. Have you all had a chance to have a look at the financial reports? Do you have any questions regarding the financial reports? In that case, I propose that the council agrees to accept the financial reports. I've read them, I'm happy, because we looked at them at the finance committee as well.
These were also
seconding or questioning, seconding, thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. Agree to renew the data protection fee of the ICO cost 40 quid. That's a resolution. We pay ICO, which is our data protection fee, for £40. Any questions? Anybody want to second that? Yeah, Graham, was that a question or a second?
Well, I'm going to second it because there's nothing we can do. We have to do it. So I'm second.
Those in favour? Thank you. Right. Heather, would you like to lead on this next one? Because I believe it is your item that you wish to propose. Bless you.
Unmute yourself.
Yes, so Ian Bates has been our councillor, county councillor for 20 years, was the chair before, and he's retiring this year. So I'd like to propose that we send him a letter to acknowledge his service to the community and to convey our thanks.
Okay, there's Heather's resolution. Ian Stott is seconding that.
No.
Oh, sorry, Ian's got a question.
Well, not exactly a question. It's just that within your note, Heather, you make reference to the fact he was a county councillor. But of course, in terms of his service to the community, he was prior to that, and I believe concurrently also a district councillor. And wondered whether we should just note that as well.
I can't find the years for that. I couldn't find the years as to how long he'd been a parish councillor either, but if you've got that information in, I can quite happily add that in.
I think it was 1996 when he became a district councillor. I don't know how long he had been on the parish council. He was chair of it at one time. He was chair when I started. So I say it's just that one day.
That would only been last year, wouldn't it, Ian?
So
When you started, that would have only been last year, you young thing.
Absolutely, yeah, I was still in nappies. Yeah, I say he did chair it for quite a while.
Yes, and I would agree with you, Ian, that he was a district and county councillor.
Yep.
And stopped being district councillor potentially 4 years ago.
I think it was longer than that.
We don't know. We can't ask the man, unfortunately.
Oh, actually, you're right, because that's when Mr. Meads joined, wasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
When they changed the boundaries of the last district council election, and it was no longer 2 district councillors we weren't part of the ward that had 2 district councillors. I think that's when Ian stopped being a district councillor. So that's the proposal. Is there a seconder for this proposal? Oh, Ian and Heather? No, Sharon. Sorry.
So, sorry, who made the proposal?
Heather's made the proposal. And Ian and or Sharon have seconded it. All those in favour of this proposal? All those abstaining from this proposal? Anybody against this proposal? Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is to receive an update regarding the A14 Legacy Fund. Ian, this has got your name on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is to do with the work on Reeves Ditch, yes?
Yeah.
On the other side.
Or the lack of work on Reeves.
Yes. Would you like to give the update, or would you like me to read what's on the document?
I think he'd like 5 minutes before he finishes his mouthful. That was very bad timing, Peter.
So on the 27th of April, there was a site meeting attended by the Clerk, Councillor Stott and Highways England representatives. It appears that the work won't be carried out because it's unlikely that the work can be carried out within the budget of £50,000. Is that because the work would cost more than £50,000? Okay, and they thought the proposed works to Reeves Ditch would exceed the budget due to the difficult and bespoke nature of the project and their standards requirements. HE have standards requirements. Very good. HE reps thought that the proposed works to the wear would be feasible, and we'll prepare a detailed scheme of works, hopefully within the next weeks.
Yep.
So partial success,
Yes.
but not the big job.
No.
No, which was the path round the back of.
Yes, that's right.
And what's the proposed work? Would you like to remind us what the proposed works are on the where?
The where, it would be putting a footpath, well, it would be a narrow strip of about 1/2 metre between the road and the footpath, and then a footpath of about 1 metre. So this would be on the northern edge of the where.
But where is the where?
Ah, it's the one.
Well said, Heather.
Yes, it's
So what is the where?
the large pond to the west of the crossroads.
Okay.
Yep,
So there's a.
That's the
plan-
one on the crossroads, is it?
Gravely Way.
Oh, the first one in Gravely Way.
Yeah.
Where the bank is eroding.
that's it.
So the plan is to put a path there, which is now grass at the moment, is that right?
That's correct.
What kind
And
of
this is
path?
by the road, not on the other side of.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Because it's getting narrower and narrower, isn't it? The waterboard sign has collapsed, fallen over, and there was an issue at one end, wasn't there, with the exposed electric?
That's right.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Cable?
Cable. Thank you. Electric cable. I wanted to call it a pipe, but it isn't a pipe. The electric cable that was exposed. So, so they're thinking they'll do that.
That's right.
Can I
And will
just-
that extend to the other little one up the road?
No,
In front? No. Okay. Kieran.
Can I just be clear? So the plan is to put a hard standing path which is now grass, where all the ducks nest. Is that what the plan is?
yeah. I mean, it's a very narrow strip that's there currently. There's not much that uses it.
Can we not just renew the bank? Would that not be? I don't know whether this is for debate now or not, but it seems quite a dramatic visual change to put a path there.
They weren't talking about a metalled path. They were talking about driving piles in and using MOT. So it will be a rustic looking path.
And are we still going to keep some grass? Because
Yes,
even
we will.
something about there'll be a gap between the path and the road
That's right. They were talking about 1/2 metre
of grass.
of gap. Yes,
Yes. And then there'll be this sort of like gravel path like we have across the green at the moment.
that's right.
Right. So presumably the weir will be smaller because the road won't get bigger.
Slightly smaller. Correct.
Right. Okay. But still enough left. Well, I suppose we can't do an awful lot until the detailed plans come in. Is that?
That's right.
That's what I was going to say. We've got to wait for the scheme of works, haven't we?
Yeah.
To see what it is and decide whether that's what we'd like to see happen.
Are they working from a brief that we've given them, or is this their own idea?
I am at a loss to know where the original proposal idea came from.
So it came from the deadline for this one was fairly short, if I remember rightly, and the council delegated it to Graham and I, and we came up with 3 suggestions. The 3 suggestions were a single lane entry and exit, a traffic light controlled pedestrian crossing, and the paths around the ponds. It was the scope of work said path around the weir and a path at the back of Reeves Ditch.
Right.
So that's where this has come from.
Right.
See, it went to the A14 team and they selected one of the 3 proposals, and they selected the one works to the ponds.
And now they've narrowed that down to be one of the ponds.
We put £50,000 in as the proposed budget for this. So we actually, as a council, set the budget at £50,000.
Right. Thank you.
So watch your space, I guess. We'll see what the schedule of works is, see what it looks like along there, because I guess clearly we don't want a metalled footpath down that side. And there is, but there is something. It would be great if something's done to stop the erosion.
We've also got the path that comes down Potton Road to the crossroads, and which currently just ceases outside that house. And people are forced at that point to have to walk on the road.
I'm lost, Ian. Which house?
Well, if you last I forget what it's called.
Do you mean Gravely Way?
Sorry?
Do you mean Gravely Way, not Coton Road?
No, you come down. Sorry, I say come down Potton Road. I'm imagining it from my house. So you turn left out of Chapel Close. You go down towards the crossroads, and you have a metalled path on your left, right at the end.
It's next door but one to Helen Atwood's.
That's right.
Yeah, the house on the very corner with sort of tall fir trees round.
Yeah.
And it goes round the corner into Gravely Way and stops.
Yes.
And so then you cross the road.
I was going to say, you can either cross the road, or the option would be to have this path that we're speaking of here.
They were quite clear, though, that this would not be designated as a footpath, because it changes. If they call it a footpath, they have to make it a metalled path that's 3 meters wide, and they have to stick to all those standards. If they call it erosion control, that people can walk on, then they don't have to make it a metalled path. You can look at MOT and gravel.
Which is what the path looks like further up Gravely Way, doesn't it? Once you get past Kidman's, the piece of path that CCC renewed a couple of years ago now, probably 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't metalled, is it? It's not metalled, it was
clinker.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Anybody got any other questions about that?
So as long as we get a chance to review it, I have a suspicion there might be a few people live nearby there who might be a bit upset about that. So we need to be very careful. I think we did discuss at one point in the open spaces meeting that a path at the back of Reeves Ditch as part of bank renewal would be a nice thing to do. And I can't remember whether that idea was brought to the council or not. But this is something new, and I think we need to be very careful about this. There's not a huge amount of space there, so by the time you've renewed the bank and put a path on it, you've really cut down on the grass, and it'd be a shame to lose all that grass there.
I have got the original form that was submitted, if that would help.
Because they've said they can't do Reeve Ditch within the budget at all.
If we had to choose one, would we prefer with Reeves Ditch?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I can't agree with that, because presumably at some point the road's going to fall in at Kidman's at Grave, isn't it?
Let's I think this will be a topic for debate, won't it, when we get the scheme of works and have a little look what's proposed. So shall we wait until then?
Yes, let's see what we have in front of us.
Okay. Thank you for the update.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Discuss
and decide.
Sorry, Peter, would you like to note receipt of that update?
No. Yes, I'll.
For purposes of the minutes.
I propose that we've received we note we've received the update. Thank you, Graham. Graham seconded. We were getting to, and all those in favour of receiving the update.
It does say on the bottom clause that the HE reps are working on the where. So that's a decision that's been made rather than the Reeves Ditch. On the basis they can't do both, they're going to do one. So that decision has that been made by HE, or is that us?
Well,
and if
correct me if I'm sorry.
If we want to direct them, should we not direct them as to which one we would prefer?
But correct me if I'm wrong, they've said that Reeve Ditch won't go in the budget.
But
they were also
no, I think it says they can't do Reeve Ditch within the budget as well. I think that written update says unlikely that both Reeve Ditch and the wear can be carried out within the budget of 50,000. HE reps thought the proposed works to Reeve Ditch would exceed the budget due to the difficult and bespoke nature, and therefore they've dropped it.
The
So
word they used would blow the budget.
It would blow the budget. So, and then this is my interpretation, is that they're then saying, right, well, we can afford to do the work on the wear.
Correct.
So we could go back to them at this point and say, please, could you tell us how much the work to Reeve Ditch would cost?
And what they intend to do.
And also what they intend to do with the wear, which is what they're doing, the detailed works thereof. If you want, we could ask them that. Because at the minute they're saying, we've put a budget of £50,000 aside. You can't have both. You can't have Reeve Ditch, but you could have the wear.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm concerned about here is that this is quite a lot of money that's available to us potentially. We want to make sure we get exactly what we want.
Yeah.
And that also we've all had a chance to discuss it and work out what would be our priority. So, you know, Graham said the wear is a priority. I would like to see some work done on Reeve Ditch, maybe not the whole thing. It depends on the scope of what they plan to do. So, you know, we need a chance to discuss this.
So would you like it if we asked Nicola to ask them how the work at Reeve Ditch would have cost? Or is it irrelevant?
Well, they were going to look at that, Nicola, because they did talk about the cost of removing the fish temporarily, didn't they?
They thought that would blow the budget.
Yeah.
Alone, just relocating the fish, and they were also not happy to put their equipment in Reeve Ditch.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, surely the work to Reeve Ditch is a nicety, whereas the wear is important, isn't it? I mean, if that's got to be done at some point, how it's done, I agree. You know, whether you want it path or grass is a big discussion. But I mean, at some point, we're going to have to attend to the wear.
So we can't really comment on the work that they're proposing to the wear until we see what it is they're proposing.
Yeah,
I would thought. And certainly we're not going to agree to it until it's been discussed at council to agree that that's what we want to have done. So I think we should go back and note that we've received an update and that we're proposing that no action is taken until we see and have the opportunity to discuss the scope of works scheme of works that's being proposed.
Yep.
Is that okay, Kieran? I know it's a sensitive one because we don't know at the moment, do we? You're on mute.
Yeah, it's the lack of information that we've got. I mean, trying to make a valued decision without knowing what the alternative scope of work would be on the ditch and whether we needed it all. You know.
So let's see what they propose, and then we can always go back to them and ask them questions when we see what they are suggesting to us.
On this, or is this just do we get one pass at this, or is there can we go back and negotiate with them?
I would think you can go back and negotiate with them.
Fine.
They did talk about the variety of materials that could be used for the piles, for instance. They've got different materials that they could use, so that they would cost out a variety of materials.
I mean, it's actually a grant that we've got, isn't it? It's not like they're doing the work for free. I mean, we've got a grant to spend with them, so
they've allocated the grant to us, though, have they?
Yeah, the money is also coming from HE as part of the A14 pot.
Yeah. Okay. So somewhere in there was a proposal to accept the report and then
that resolution already.
Have we done it? Have we voted?
You've noted receipt of the report.
Yeah.
You have proposed a second resolution that no action is taken until full council see the scheme of works.
Okay. Anybody want to second that one? Okay. Everybody's seconding it. And all those in favour?
Can I have a second? Which one would you like?
Look, Sharon, after everybody put their hand down, Sharon's hand was still there. All those in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. Right. Receive an update regarding the living support grant and decide upon the next steps.
Missed one.
Missed one.
Have I?
Yeah, sorry. 38.
Oh, yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Discuss and decide whether to adopt an emergency scheme of delegation of urgent and routine matters. And this is to cover us should we have something that needs to be decided at a time when we can't meet by Zoom and we're not meeting in person. Would you like to talk us through it, Nicola?
So there are certain things that the council cannot delegate, such as the agreeing of precepts, the signing of the AGAR, which you've just done. But this scheme of delegation delegates all other matters to me. Now, this could include, obviously, now that you've just resolved on it, it couldn't, but yeah, it could have included agreeing to the A14 legacy fund. It could have included planning applications. Anything that the council could agree to would be delegated to me, including payments above and beyond the normal clerk chair authority.
So what do people think about this?
And this is purely because we wouldn't be meeting, isn't it?
The safeguard, really. Ideally, I don't really want to use it.
And it would have a time limit.
Yes, please.
21st of June, it says. But it's to go in line with the come out of national lockdown, isn't it? And that obviously 21st of June, then you'd have your 3 clear days to allow a meeting to be notified and all that sort of thing. And if we put a caveat on it that said that payments need to be co-agreed by the chair and vice chair, would that make people any happier if they're not happy?
Sorry, I've kind of like, I didn't really understand why we've got to consider adopting this.
So with effect from, what day are we? Tuesday. With effect from Thursday, we can't meet on Zoom again.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And we, as a council, we've said we don't want to meet before the 21st of June in person.
Yeah.
But if something comes in that is urgent between now and then, like
I see, right.
We have a big bill that needs paying. At the moment, the chair can authorise up to 300 quid, 200 quid? 200.
200.
So the scheme of delegation allows business to be conducted, but on an exceptional basis, Sharon. So things like that. Planning, if we get a planning application in after Thursday, the planning committee can't meet by Zoom and won't meet in person until the 21st of June. So the scheme of delegation would allow Nicola to respond to those items. And I'm just saying, do we want to put in a backstop measure that says it's also got to be agreed by the chair and vice chair?
I know we can't meet more than 6 of us at the moment, but if there was something urgent that came up, surely 6 people could meet outside before.
You would need to invite the public.
They can sit on the green. Yeah,
and that's the problem, isn't it? It counter the guidance that says you can no longer have meetings by Zoom contradicts the guidance that says you can only meet up to groups of 6.
That's right.
And I'm right in saying that you can't have phone conversations either and get some. So Nicola couldn't phone you and say, "What do you think?" Because then that's not in a public forum. Is that right?
That's correct.
So this, under this scheme of delegation, the responsibility would stay with me as the officer. In the case of the procurement decision, so this is payments, the scheme of delegation says that it would be in consultation with the chair of the council and the chair of the finance committee. So it would be a phone call to, or an email to two people to say, are you happy that I make this payment? But the final decision and the responsibility would remain with me.
But it would have a checks and balances on it as such. And I think you see, and it's so difficult, isn't it? Because on a personal note, you're not going to get me meeting in public until at least the 18th, 2 weeks after the 18th of May.
Right.
Because second vaccination, 2 weeks for it to be, you know, for you to feel out, for it to have taken effect.
I haven't had my first yet, so you've also got to consider health and safety at work for employees.
Yes.
We all know you're younger.
So we're not, so, you know, it all sounds very, it's not that we're delegating away the you know, all the things that we're voted for to control, that we have some influence over, because I think if we have checks and balances in there, that should satisfy. But we need to have a scheme that allows some decisions to be made if there is any, because, you know, people who put their planning in and they can't get we know how slow planning's going through at the moment anyway, but it'd be quite nice if the parish council would be able to comment on it. If it was controversial, then we'd have to say, go back and say no.
So if you had a big plan application come in, how would you handle that then in this situation?
Difficult. If it was for instance, if the Witchwood one came back on the agenda, that one I've already drafted several letters. I think I could be fairly confident in speaking for the planning committee and writing a letter of objection. If one came in that was contentious, a new, I don't know, 200 houses on Potton Road, not touching that. I'm sorry, I'm not taking the responsibility for that.
I agree.
I will contact HDC on your behalf and ask for an extension. But should an extension not be granted and you're not happy to meet as a committee to decide a response, then I am not prepared to take responsibility for that. If it's a side extension on Rutland Green, then that's something that the planning committee, I've already got evidence that the planning committee have agreed resolutions on similar developments. So I would be comfortable in drafting something similar based on your history as a committee.
So if a planning application came in and there was history to show which way the parish council's planning committee had gone in the past, you'd take that as your lead, would you?
Yeah, I think that's the only way I could make that decision. I have no experience in planning. It's not my responsibility normally to be looking at plans and deciding. It would be done in conjunction with the chair of the council and the chair of the planning committee. But again, like the payments, the responsibility would lie with me as the officer. So as I say, if a planning came in for 200 houses on Potton Road, I'm not prepared to take that responsibility.
We would have to review if we had such an application come in.
Is there actually an alternative?
Not that I'm aware of, and several, yeah, there's been so much debate among clerks. I've never seen the SLCC forum quite so alive over this issue, because there just doesn't seem to be an answer, and it is really frustrating that central government have left us in this limbo between legislation.
And what are other clerks doing? Have they come to other conclusions? Or?
Well, this scheme of delegation is copied from another clerk from the SLCC forum, where there's been lots of debate, and a lot of other clerks have also adopted this scheme of delegation or are presenting this scheme of delegation to their councils as a solution, albeit a temporary one. I actually just this afternoon forwarded it to another local clerk who wanted some advice on the matter.
So I think we should adopt it on the basis that I think, as Nicola said, decisions would be made after referral to, but by, and if we had something that was deemed to be contentious, like a large planning application or a county court judgment or something like that, we would have to reconsider, and perhaps there might be a need that we would have to hold a meeting, and we'd have to have a look at the way we could do that that would be safe.
Because you're in this situation, could you use this as a grounds to hold a private meeting?
No.
You can't. So you know,
No, the legislation is really clear, and we've just had a High Court judgment on the fact of how clear the legislation is.
crazy.
What you could do as an alternative, and again, this is a bit of a dodgy ground, you only need 3 people to be quorate to make a decision. So you could say 3 people from the planning committee would meet with the clerk, so that's 4, plus that then gives the opportunity for 2 parishioners to join and stay within the rule of 6. What you would do if 4 parishioners turn up, and how do you select the 3 that get to make the decision? It's not democracy.
We also, this rule of 6 is only going to apply until the 17th of May, isn't it? After that, we're expecting the rules to be relaxed.
Possibly.
17th May allows you 6 indoors or 30 outdoors.
So that becomes a bit more feasible.
Yeah.
You could potentially meet outdoors, but we live in England, so can't guarantee that.
I think if we needed to, if there was something like, you know, a planning application came in, we would. So if a planning application came in tomorrow, being the 5th of May, it would need to be probably responded to within 21 days, which would be the 26th of May. So that gets past your next lockdown rule, which is 30 people outside. So there is, we would be able to arrange a meeting. Not anybody who felt they weren't unable, not comfortable in going, didn't have to go. And we could try and do something.
I think that's a good solution, because I think we could ask HDC for an extension in the first instance, because we're only looking at a week really, aren't we, or 10 days extension.
And it just depends. Sorry.
But I would be really uncomfortable with any planning decisions being made without the committee involved, or just the chair, or I think it has a big impact on the people who are submitting the planning application, and I think it has to go to the committee, whether that's outdoors, or socially distanced outdoors. I think we could work around it some way.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it's putting Nicola in a very difficult position.
Yeah.
And, we've only got a few days to go. As you worked out, Peter, if we did get one that dropped tomorrow, then we could still work within the rules post 17th of May. And I'm sure there's a way we can do that. I mean, at the end of the day, we just need to have a cover over their heads for how a meeting. Pubs are allowed to have people outside under cover as long as there's 2 walls missing, which seems to be something we could probably organise.
So then, for the purpose of this agenda item, we'd be proposing that we adopt a scheme of delegation that has got its checks and balances from the chairs of respective committees, but planning.
How about, sorry, Peter, how about we just don't adopt this scheme and we just try and work around it?
The part I'm thinking about is money. So that if we need to, if something comes up that we have to pay a larger bill, I think we need to get clarity on that over the next few months, month and a half.
But Peter, if it was a large bill, could you not sanction £200 to be paid as a initial payment, and then, you know, with the Nicola writing to the whoever saying, you know, due to circumstances, we FaceTime video. Sorry. Sorry, I just got FaceTime video.
We're missing a bill from our tree man, aren't we? Glenn hasn't given us the bill.
Sorry.
That's going to be a lot of money. So we'd
Yes.
it would be great. We'd have to meet an awful lot of people. That'd be a full parish council meeting sometime in June, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And
surely we can approve financial payments. That
I would certainly go for financial payments. Heather.
Can we accept this scheme and put a caveat in that if Nicola feels uncomfortable with any decision, then she will put it on hold?
What number 7, the common sense rule. Any comments? Any proposal? I'm going to propose that we take the delegation of urgent and routine matters as proposed, with a caveat. If there's a planning application of concern, that we make arrangements to try and hold a planning meeting of some sorts.
Okay.
But that to be held in accordance with COVID restrictions and guidelines.
So
how do you feel about that?
This would only cover financials. In reality.
And it's only until there's a
7-week window, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and it goes on to the 21st of June.
Yeah,
providing that's when the lockdown rules. Well, in fact, it would be, I would say, to the 30th of June, because I haven't got a calendar in front of me. I don't know what day of the week the 21st is. You need to have 3 clear days to have, excluding weekends, to call a parish council meeting.
But you could call it. You could call it the week before and actually meet on the 21st.
Right.
Yeah. But if something comes in on the 20th, so that's
a Sunday.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm going to propose that this emergency, with all those caveats, is put in place until the 30th of June.
The 21st is a Monday, so why don't we go with the 21st?
Because if something comes in that says final demand and pay today, 21st of June, you can't hold your meeting until the Friday.
Which is beyond.
Whereas if it comes in and you've got the scheme of delegation and authority, you can pay that in those few days before you get the next meeting. I don't mind. I'm just trying to give the solution that might, because we won't be able to meet to vote on any amendment to it.
Yeah. I think 30 is good, isn't it? And you say you've got common sense as well.
Yeah.
And Nicola's going to discuss any contentious issues with myself and the chairs of the appropriate committees, and hopefully you would trust us that we wouldn't allow something that we feel should be discussed through without postponing, adjourning, or arranging a meeting.
The ideal would be this is not used.
Absolutely.
And it's for a finite period.
Graham?
Could the caveat also say that the first response from Nicola is to get an extension on planning?
Yeah. Because I would be, like I say, I'd be much happier 2 weeks after the 18th of May. Not the 3 weeks or whatever have you. But it's also, we've got to bear in mind that some people haven't had their vaccinations. So anybody want to second that?
So shall I just read back what I've got as your caveat, Peter?
Yeah.
So if your caveat is that if there's a planning application of concern, that will make arrangements in accordance with COVID regulations and guidelines at the time, and the clerk will apply for an extension. And this will be in place until the 30th of June.
If you apply for an extension, that's quite unfair on the applicant to the planning application. Just kicks their application into the ground. Give HDC every excuse they need to slow down.
All right, remove the bit about seeking an extension.
Okay. So if there's a planning application of concern, we make arrangements in accordance with COVID regulations and guidelines at the time, and this will be in place until the 30th of June.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Anybody want to second that? All those in favour?
Sorry, I missed the seconder.
Graham.
Thank you.
Second. All in favour, sorry. Abstaining? 1. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't abstaining, I was voting. Just a bit slow.
Sorry, so we were all 4?
All 4. No, 8.
7, actually.
I feel sure that HDC will be aware of the pressures on parish councils, and they will do their level best to stall any large planning applications that would come through anyhow.
You would hope.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
Like, yeah, Sharon, don't be so cynical. How could you be so
Sorry.
cynical? Honestly.
Sorry.
Or is that realistic?
Very realistic.
The next item on the agenda is receive an update regarding the Living Support Grant and decide upon the next stages. Heather, I shall ask you to talk about this because this is your baby, I believe. Well, not your baby, but...
So back in February, we applied for a grant. At that point, it was to look towards coming out of COVID, building community and getting people fit and healthy again. It went round the houses with them, and as a council, we agreed to apply, and we applied for just under £1,500 for a range of equipment and instructors to deliver fitness on the green and in the village. Last week, I think it was, we heard we'd been successful. So we got the money. And so we can buy bull sets or hula hoops, croquet sets, geologic fits, so we can employ instructors to do Tai Chi and keep fit on the green. And we can buy a rounders set, which is great. They sent us forms that said, we're approving you to do archery as well. We didn't apply for archery. We don't want to do archery. It's not happening, but that's what it says on their form, just to make that clear. So Nicola's got the forms, and those outline our commitments and expectations, or their commitments and expectations regarding the funding, and she'll need authority from the council to complete and return them so that we can get the money and then purchase the equipment. So that's the first part of it.
Anybody got any comments, questions? Graham?
Yeah, I voted against it before, and I will vote against it now. I know it's not our money, but I'm not entirely sure it's a good use of money. And also having the courses or classes on the green was contrary to previous resolutions that you made before.
So within the green policy, management policy.
Yeah, and also we were asked, we had an application where someone wanted to do some keep fit on the green for money.
Yeah, but we said no on the basis that it was for profit making to an individual, which is definitely not it's one of our things we don't do.
Indeed.
But if there's no profit involved in this.
Well, there is, because someone's being paid to do the classes.
So the Tai Chi instructor has asked for a donation to Fence Stanton Football Club.
Yeah. And the other person?
And the Keep Fit people are coming from Hunt's District Council. So it's not a personal thing that they're making a profit from. It's the One Leisure Centre. The hula hoop instructor, there's a bit of an issue with because she was involved in a car accident and can't hula hoop at the moment.
I think it's very different to the previous applicant that wanted to run classes and charge, the attendees. I think this is a very different way of looking at it. So this is doing something for the good of the community. And as Heather says, we're making a donation for their, teaching these classes. And I think it's worth giving it a go, particularly coming out of lockdown with the amount of stress and effect it's had on everyone's mental health. I think it's a really positive thing that the parish council should support. Well
Can
done.
I just ask what happens after the 6 hours?
So I applied for funding for 6 hours.
Okay.
That's what we've got.
Not sure I understand the logic of charging us to then give the money to Fenstanton Football Club. It's a charitable. Why don't you just do it for free for us as a charitable thing?
She's the qualified instructor and she does classes around different villages, and that's what she says the money's going towards.
Where's the equipment to be stored?
So that's my next point, point 2. Once we've approved the first bit, that we can go ahead and get the money, then we need to decide where it's to be stored. I originally suggested the pavilion. What I would like ideally is that groups of people come along on one day to do Boule, for example, and then, like a library, borrow the Boule to take home with them and bring back the following week, so they've got it at home to practice. Bit more difficult with croquet.
Okay. What quantity of equipment do you think it would there would be?
So on the application, I applied for 10 sets of Boule, 20 hula hoops, 3 croquet sets, 5 geology kits, and 1 rounder set.
Okay, I'm just trying to think of storage capability at the pavilion.
Okay.
Just trying to think of
Yeah.
how much bulk we're talking about here.
So I understand that there was a bench stored in the pavilion recently. I wouldn't imagine it would occupy more space than that.
Okay.
There are other alternatives if the pavilion is not an appropriate place. I can approach the village hall, I can talk to other people, but it's our equipment.
Yeah, no, sure.
So why not the pavilion?
There is a cupboard in the pavilion, isn't there? Just near the kitchen area, I think.
Okay.
Can we just start with the first one? Can we decide whether we're going to give Nicola permission to return the partnership agreement in order to get this money?
You're going to have to excuse my ignorance, but geologic.
So it's a game that's mainly played in France on campsites, and you have 10 posts of about varying heights. The biggest one's about this big, and you throw a log about this big to try and knock them over, and you score points depending on how you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Skittles, but with a log.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so there's Heather's first proposal is she would like the Parish Council to approve that Nicola applies to the grant, gets a grant money.
She has to fill in the partnership agreement.
Okay. So who would like to second Heather's proposal? Thank you, Sharon. And all those in favour of that proposal? And those against? And those abstaining?
I'm abstaining because I don't know the full thing yet. So I don't think we can take it at one bit at a time. I want to have a fuller understanding of how it's going to work. Sorry, it's a bit difficult, but I just don't know how it's going to work. I'm not, I would be against paying anybody to do something on the green if they're going to financially benefit. I'm not sure I'm fully convinced. I thought that was the case, but I'm now not fully convinced that's the case. But the other thing is the who's going to store it, who's going to keep the log of where all the equipment is, how's that going to be done, can we restrict the area to the cricket field, which is mowed, rather than where we're going to take the hay cut? All those kind of things. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, similar vein to Kieran.
All right. So those are your concerns. What's the next part of your proposals, Heather?
That number 2 says the items above will need to be purchased. Can they be stored in the pavilion? So that's a question. If they are not going to be able to be stored in the pavilion, then I would go first to the village hall to ask if they could be stored there, and then ask people around the green whether they can store it if they're going to take responsibility for delivering the activities.
So who's going to run it? Who's going to manage it? Who's going to monitor it?
Item number 6 says that I'm happy to coordinate all of these activities.
I haven't got item 6.
So on the document in your folder.
Yeah. Oh, down the bottom underneath the, I was looking at the items of the cost.
Yeah,
Sorry.
next steps, 6 next steps that I've
Yes, I've got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do apologize. I was blinded by geological.
So what I tried to do was to take it through in stages. First of all, can we do it? Well, we've had a majority say yes, we can. Secondly, where they're going to be stored.
So, okay.
So
So
that's
could,
discussion
if the
item.
item, when the items, so the first thing is sending the forms back to get the money,
Yep.
which we've agreed. So that's the money. Then item 2, okay, suppose proposal 2 is that the items would be purchased and can they be stored in the pavilion?
I think the pavilion's still in progress. The plans are still in progress. So I don't know if we could say yay or nay straight off. I don't know. Possibly.
I think the storage is the simplest thing, but
What I suppose, if listening to comments and that, so the next question really is who's going to run it? What people are going to be brought in? Are they covered by insurance? Can paid lessons go on the green when we have a policy that says nobody can have for profit payments? So I think that's the next stage, isn't it?
Okay, so as I just said, the person who can do Tai Chi, which is Living Sports recommended person, she doesn't take a personal fee. There's no financial gain for her in that. So she asked for this donation. The people who run the fitness classes, it's not a personal gain for them because they're employed by Hunting District Council as part of One Leisure. So just as part of their job, they have to go out into the community to deliver activities. So that's not a personal gain either. As I said, the hula hooping issue is a bit more difficult because the lady I had got in mind has been involved in a car accident. So I don't know if that can go ahead or not yet.
it is a personal gain though. They're employed to do the job. So that's not logical.
By One Leisure.
Yeah, so it's a business thing. They provide a service, you pay somebody some money for it. So
it's Hunts District Council who employ them, isn't it?
I think that is different from somebody setting up, being self-employed, running a business for their own kind of profit. This is under the umbrella of Hunting and District Council, so it's I mean that HDC used to kind of encourage, well, they used to have kind of classes, health coach loads of people that used to come to Hilton, didn't they? And that's just trying to think, like, for disability. So I think it is different to, and I understand where you're coming from, because we've said no to a lad who wanted to do some sort of class on the green.
Yeah, and we said that if you want to run that sort of thing, you should do it within the amenity within the village, which was the village hall, wasn't it? Because there was thought that perhaps if you did it on the green, you didn't have to pay the fee to the village hall. So it was a way of getting around that. part. So that was what happened there, I think. What do you want to do, chaps and ladies? You've got a list of next steps.
I mean, I don't think there's that much wrong with it, really, but it's just going to be for 6 weeks. As long as we don't set a precedent for people wanting to do this sort of thing, we're continuously having. So, I mean, it's a nuanced point, but the fact is HDC employing a person is no different, really, than say a gym employing somebody to come here and can do an exercise class. It's the person himself doesn't get any more gain, but other than their salary for doing it. So that's the way I would apply the logic. So we've got to be a bit careful. But apart from that, I'm quite relaxed about it, as long as it's not going to run into something bigger and better and takes, becomes a long-term thing. Because it's just.
I think the British weather will stop that. This is 6 weeks in the summer, really, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I think
it's a response to COVID, and it's bringing community together.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm happy to take that responsibility for coordinating.
Thank you, Heather.
And making sure it does work well, with the caveats that we've said.
If we could just make it clear to anybody that asks us that it's not for profit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the instructor who comes and says, "Oh, I really like doing it here, I'd like to continue thereafter," knows that that isn't an option, because we won't encourage a pay to attend group that is
going to take place in the village hall and be under complete.
Exactly.
And we are mowing the cricket pitch, and I don't think there's any sign of anybody playing cricket on it at the moment.
Okay, my question is, can croquet happen on it?
I'm not sure about the crease, but it should be all right and elsewhere on the field.
Yeah, not on the hallowed square.
Yeah, the hallowed square is very damaged.
It is very damaged.
Horses across it.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not good. It's all got these big horse hoof prints across the square.
That may be something you might need to make clear to people, that we haven't really solved the problem of these horses galloping around the green. They are dangerous. So people having organised games on the field, need to be aware.
All right, so I think I don't know, I get the idea that perhaps we're happy to propose that this goes ahead on this time limited, caveated basis. Is that right, with the equipment being stored in the pavilion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd second that.
All those in favour? Against? Thank you. Thanks, Heather.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and work with Nicola to get it up and running.
Yeah.
Report back in.
Yeah. And if you want to talk to Kieran or about whereabouts on the green might be a good place, and if something needs to be cut, we could ask John to cut the handyman to cut something else, couldn't we? Not the handyman, the maintenance man to cut an area if it needs to be.
That's great, thank you.
In the shape of a maze, perhaps.
Sorry?
In the shape of a maze, perhaps.
21, 22, 40 payments received. We've received half the precept, £15,300, £79.25 a sill payment, a little bit additional sill, and £677.13 being the VAT refund for the 1st of April 2020 to the 31st of March 2021. We are allowed as a parish council to receive our VAT, do one annual return, and that's very prompt and very quick, and it's back already. Excellent. So I'm going to Graham.
Sorry, just for interest, are we allowed to know which house produced the seal?
Number 1 Pex Coppice, or plot 1 Pex Coppice.
Is that the built property or the property?
That's the one. one that's, oh, sorry, it's the one that's being built.
Yeah,
And it's
but,
an amendment.
Try.
The planning reference is for the amendment that they put in.
Oh, right. So we've already had some money, have you, for the big part?
Yes.
This is just for the amendment, the extra footage or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, and I guess I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to propose that it is noted we have received these amounts. Anybody like to second that? Graham, all those in favour? Might vote against, don't want the money. No, thank you very much. 21, 22, 41 is approve the payments on the list of payments. I propose that we approve those payments. Kieran seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. 21, 22, 42 is councillors' items. Hang on a minute, because I just want to make a note to myself. So if I go across the top here, Graham.
No, but thank you.
Et.
I've got nothing, no thanks.
Heather.
No, thank you.
Kieran.
One thing that arose tonight, I was just a bit surprised about what happened with the wear and all of that. I wonder if those kind of things could be by default given to the open spaces group as part of the group's remit to look after these sort of things.
Thank you.
That's it.
Ian.
Yes, please. First of all, that phone call I had earlier on was actually Ian Bates, who was just saying, I'm dreadfully sorry, I can't get into the meeting this evening. Bit of a shame, because you know, I've really enjoyed looking after Hilton for the last X number of years in various capacities. So I say just a little note from Ian. Second, John Carter has commented that as well as the damage to the cricket square, the whole of the cricket outfield is extremely rough due to the horse riding on it. And the third thing I was going to say was thank you, Graham. I've been on the council a couple of times when you've been chair. You did it very well last year, and last time, and you've excelled yourself in the last 2 years. Thank you. Thank you,
Sharon. Sorry.
Yes, only one thing. A parishioner from the end of the village has said there's been 3 near misses. Well, it was Sarah Sampson actually said because cars are speeding through the village doing 40 miles an hour or more, and she just asked whether we could impose request a 30-mile-an-hour limit along the main part of the village going out towards Fenstanton. So I've asked her to put it in writing to the clerk, but there's been a few near misses. And apologies, I was not here at the beginning of the meeting. I was on another meeting. Was everyone aware that a car went into the ditch near the pavilion about 2 weeks ago? Yeah.
Thank you.
And that was very odd as well. He said he'd swerved out of the Ford, but I think that was a bit of an exaggeration.
I think you're right.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thanks.
I've got 2 items. So I attended a teleconference call regarding the A428 last week, probably. Who knows? The days just go. They meld into one. And this particular teleconference call or Zoom call or Teams, as it was regarding modelling. So it was run by Mike Evans of Highways England. There were a few people from places like Eltersley and Yaxley. Yelling. That begins with a Y as well. Yelling, and Ellsworth, and they were looking at the modelling and saying one of the parishes was extremely disappointed that the completion of the new A428 would only mean a reduction of 20% of vehicles going through their village during rush hour. They thought it would reduce the traffic to 0. I thought 20% reduction of traffic going through the village might actually be a good thing, mightn't it? But the next meeting they're going to have is regarding construction and construction traffic. And they also announced that the consultation is now open for comment, and if you make a comment, you become a registered party, and that allows you to be invited by the planning inspectorate to meetings that they have. It is probably intended that this whole inspection of the A428 project will be conducted by Zoom meetings. It is unlikely that they will have public meetings, because they have, the planning inspectorate have apparently during this period of lockdown, or these periods of lockdown, conducted inquiries via Zoom or Teams or whatever, and they quite like it. So they're probably going to do this whole A428 that way. There was talk about the consultation on the A428 not including east-west train rail link, which is a bit like when the A14 was being consulted on, when there was no comments were being made, but there's no inclusion of the A428 upgrade. And the highways responses, of course, when we were doing the A14, that they wanted to finish that well before the A428 started. And with A428, they plan that that's going to be completed well before east-west actually starts construction on the rail. So they will go ahead. What's my feelings on it? My feelings are that rather like the A14, highways will do it. And they'll do it in line with the book of building a road. And they'll do it without much more consideration around that. We have discussed at Parish Council meeting before that the Parish Council will register as an interested party, with the Parish Council seeking clarification from Highways England on not allowing construction traffic to come through Hilton, to go down the 1307 and down the 1198, and that is what we are going to do as a Parish Council. And if you want to comment individually, you are entitled to register with the Planning Inspectorate as an individual. And then the other thing I have on my list is, again, to echo Ian's comments, I'd like to thank Graham for being chair for the last couple of years, and Kieran for being his vice chair. Graham took over from me as chair when I was not well, and we never really discussed him taking over. It was very kind of him to do it for me. So thank you, Graham. And thank you, Kieran.
At the meeting.
I wasn't at the meeting, no. When you're signed off work, it's probably not the best thing to be seen at a meeting in the evening or whatever have you. So thank you, Graham, for doing this over the last couple of years. And I look forward to renewing our relationship of chair and vice chair over the next year, as we pave the way to the election in May 2022. So that's all council's items. The next item on the agenda is a review of the project. And is this supposed to be a closed session?
Yes,
Nicola?
please, at the request of NACO, it's a confidential matter.
Okay, so Andy, thank you very much. And
need a resolution to that effect, Peter, sorry.
I resolve that the next item on the agenda is conducted within a closed session of the Parish Council. Graham seconding it. All those in favour. Thank you very much. Thanks, Andy.